Hello everyone, welcome to a big edition of In the Box Seats.
Yes,
what's coming up, Ella?
We're going to be joined by Maddy Sears, obviously the stable, fresh off a huge week with the win in the Archer with Yellow Brick and a win in the Gold Coast Bracelet with Nightline.
Yeah, we'll chat about both horses and a big recap of Hollindale Stakes Day and that fabulous win by Pride of Jenni. That's all coming up on this week's edition of In the Box Seat. As we mentioned at the top of the show, Maddy Sears is joining us fresh off a big week for the stable. They took the Archer, they took the Gold Coast Bracelet. Not sure what else they took that week, but it was a big week for the stable, and good enough for Maddy to join us on In the Box Seat today.
Hello, yes, thank you. We had an absolute blaster of a week. October one in town as well. Hilarious one here on the Poly before the Gold Coast meeting. We also had another winner in Rocky, Switch the Stars, won the cutest race and third in that as well. We took 4 up there and they all finished top 3. And obviously, the Archer was phenomenal. I take my hat off to the Rocky Amateurs Club for making it happen, making it work under the circumstances. We certainly didn't. The race meeting didn't go to waste when we had no race. It turned into a phantom meeting. And I think the bar definitely got their money's worth.
I think that's the case in Rocky. I think that any excuse to get to the bar.
Yeah, absolutely. We all had a blast up there. But no, and then obviously Nightline, she was incredible. She's very, very talented. We always thought she was, is as good, and I think you're going to see even better. I was a little bit worried at the top of the straight when she sort of had to bullock her way out, but sectionally she was unbelievable. And Steady Ready, he was very, very brave in defeat. There was a lot of pressure up front, and he held on for third. I think he's definitely on his way up to potentially winning the Lightning again.
Speaking of Yellow Brick, obviously an incredible horse. We've backed it here on the show time and time again. It just seems to be a feature racehorse that just keeps winning. Is that $4 million maybe in the bank now for Yellow Brick? What's next for him, and where do we go from here?
Yeah, so he was very lucky enough. He went to Embrook for a few days, had a nice little freshen up in the Water Walker. He's back at the stables now. We're going to the Kingsford Smith. We were going to go BRC, but he's just going to carry too much weight in that. It's just, just wasn't really probably the smart option to do. We're going Kingsford Smith. It's going to be a hot field, but we believe the horse is good enough to be in that field. He hasn't earned that prize money for no reason. And then he heads into the Stradbroke, and Dad and I do believe that he's definitely going into the Stradbroke this year with a better prep, and everything's sort of just touch wood at this stage, falling into place. And he's just a really furnished racehorse now. Last year we sort of had a bit of trouble with him over racing and just things, wasn't jumping properly and things like that. But, all good things take time, and time's been the best thing on this horse's side. And I do believe he's definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Well, in fairness, it was about 12 months that you were on the show, and leading into the Stradbroke, and he was 40-50 to 1, and you said don't worry about the price, he will run a race and a half on Saturday, and he come out and run second. And it feels like there's still some unfinished business with the Stradbroke, but also from what I've seen, in my opinion, it feels like the horse is going just as good as ever. Yeah,
definitely. Statistically and on data, he has improved. His stride length is marginally bigger. His recovery, the horse is an extremely sound and clean-winded horse, and he's probably one of our easiest horses to train. We sort of it's a matter of just keeping him happy, basically. He's definitely, this is probably the best that Dad and I have had him going and seen him going, to be honest.
And also at winter time, we know we can get Maddy without any incidents with pools at summertime. We can always lock her in for around the winter months. She's off limits in the pool, but might be off limits for a while after all those injuries that you had. Let's go to Nightline, the Gold Coast Bracelet winner. Obviously, after the summer preparation where you were successful in the Grand Prix, you plotted the path to the Winter Carnival in Queensland Oaks, and she's now favourite for the race on the back of the Gold Coast Bracelet victory, and it's going to be a similar group of fillies that she beat home, and beat home rather well in the end after overcoming difficulties at the top of the straight.
Yeah, look, she's incredibly talented, and probably a lot of things that people don't know is when she won the City to Surf, she was actually still 2. She's a late November foal, so she's the natural improvement that we knew that she was going to take off the back of that spell. was, we anticipated her to keep on improving. And one thing I think that we've got on our side is a lot of horses that she's raced with in the last 2 races, they're 4 or 5 runs deep. Yeah. We're second up. She's just going to keep, well, Dad and I believe, fingers crossed, she's just going to keep improving. But, you don't see many horses do sort of what she did on the weekend. And we've spoken to a lot of good judges, and they've said that it's not I wouldn't say the word not normal, but the times that she ran were just outstanding.
Yep.
Like her sectional times were just through the roof.
We were speaking off air. Obviously, the race was sponsored by Moet and Chandon. Did you indulge in your big magnums? Did you enjoy the champagne after the race? It would have been the most enjoyable kind of champagne you've had in probably the winner's circle here.
Yeah, definitely. I did have I'm not usually one for a champagne, but when they handed to you for that reason, it tasted pretty good.
I'm sure it did.
Yeah, no, it was good. And also the lady that owns it, Andra Fleming. She's been a client of ours since I was in primary school. We've had some really good horses for her. But this is by far the best horse that she's had with us, and I think she's on the upwards trajectory.
Yeah. What else? Like, as much as you've recapped a number of good horses, good success for the stable of late, is there anything else that we haven't seen yet? Or
We've got a really good 2-year-old by Doubtland.
Yep.
Her name's Maria Clara. She's only had, you've probably called it a trial once before. It's very talented, and I've got another 2-year-old coming through the ranks. Quite a good race name. Its name's Explain This.
Ooh.
Explain This.
Yeah,
that'll be
so
fun to
they're they'll start to sort of towards the end of the carnival. But we do have some really we've sort of been pretty quiet in the 2-year-old front this time. But we've got about 16, so they're certainly there. But we've just taken our time with them because we would like to see them as nice 3-year-olds.
That name could be taken into a number of different contexts.
It's
when your mum
good.
goes, explain this. Mitchell, what is this?
It was the husband.
Oh.
The husband. Explain this.
Oh.
Yes.
I think that might be one of my favourite names yet.
Yeah, he went supposed to buy a racehorse, and they've seen the Facebook post and they said, explain this.
There you go.
Yeah, it's quite
I like
clever.
that story.
Quite clever.
So we'll look out for those couple of babies from the Sears stable to keep an eye out on over the next couple of months.
Thanks, Maddy, for
Thanks,
coming
Maddy.
on.
No,
We really
thank you.
appreciate it.
And we'll see you in another 12 months when it's winter.
Yeah, sounds good.
Maddy Sears joining us in the box seat. All right, let's recap the big day that was last week. Tab AD Hollindale Stakes Day in front of a crowd that built in time for the feature race, and what a spectacle it was. Pride of Jenni at her brilliant best, stretching out by 14, 16 lengths at various stages. She made the race her own from 1,000 metres out. Birdman for a fleeting moment inside the 250, 200 metre mark looked a live chance of pegging back the great mare, but in the end she was able to hold him out by 3/4 of a length. It was a terrific spectacle, terrific atmosphere pre and post race. It felt like the 98 edition of when Might Power, who was a Cups champion, he won a Cox Plate, he came to the Gold Coast and ripped away and won by a big space. It had that sort of feel to it. A number of people still talking about how good the day was on Saturday.
And it might have had something to do with the 4X promotion.
Yep.
I think everyone was backing Pride of Jenni, and you can hear the crowd absolutely screaming after that finish, and they all stuck around excited for Pride of Jenni to obviously come through. And it pains me to say it, but Mitch, we have to absolutely shout you out for one of the most incredible
It pains you to say it.
It pains me to say it, but credit where credit is due. The call that you did on the Hollindale race was one of the most incredible calls that we've had here at the Gold Coast Turf Club. So congratulations on an incredible call and an incredible race.
100 metres back. Pride of Jenni comes up towards the Gold Coast home turn, leading by 12 lengths. She's a Hustler's about to run into second. Knight's Choice to third. Birdman, Half Yours gets to the outside, but it's Pride of Jenni clear. 300 metres left to run. She's 7 in front, but she's all out. Birdman runs to second, then She's a Hustler. Pride of Jenni, 125 left to run. 3 lengths clear, 2 lengths clear. Birdman's coming out after her. Pride of Jenni's gripping on. Declan's done it all of the way. Pride of Jenni wins the Hollindale Stakes. Second in Birdman, and third She's a Hustler. Fourth at Canberra, Half Yours, Kovalika or Militarise.
No, it was a great race. It sort of lived up to the billing that we thought it might have been when we previewed the show with Joycey last week, and that's exactly how it panned out. So it was great to have her here and great to have all those fans of the sport, you could say, cheering her on. And when she came back into the mounting yard, it was a great sense of atmosphere. So
and the bars after as well,
Yeah.
they got an absolute workout. Those 4X cans were coming out in pallets and strides. It was. I think the punters were very excited by that one.
It's amazing how big the crowd got after the Hollindale.
It did indeed. So a huge shout out again to the boys at 4X 4X Beer. So thank you so much for putting on that promotion for us, and it was awesome to see Pride of Jenni cross the line.
We touched upon the Gold Coast bracelet, of course, with Maddy Sears, but the other big races, Beedman was at his brilliant best. He, of course, won the Ken Russell Classic last year, but he won the Gold Coast Guineas. He's off to the Doomben 10,000 now to try and get Group 1 glories, an expensive colt. Speaking of which, St. Goddard, the $2.7 million Stencil colt, was brilliant winning the Ken Russell. And you could just feel when James McDonald come back post-race and some of the words that he said about this fellow onwards and upwards, he is going to be the next big thing of racing. We may not see him again for the rest of the winter, but there's a huge rap on him, and he beat up a pretty good field here on Saturday by 4 lengths and onwards and upwards for him in his future. Of course, he comes at a very expensive price tag, but he looks a next level colt. So overall, track was brilliant. It played terrific. They could win inside, outside, lead, back. It was just a terrific day's racing.
And the winter doesn't end there for us.
No.
Obviously, it keeps on going. Next Friday night, the big feature with the Magic Millions 2-year-old National Classic is on Friday, the 22nd of May. It all keeps going, so book your tickets, free entry, and get on track for that one.
We'll talk more about that race next week, but we're going to see another expensive colt in the next episode. He's got a price tag of $1.7 million. He was brilliant scoring in Brisbane a couple of weeks ago. He's going to highlight that race next week, but a big preview of the night meeting next week. Of course, the weather's a bit iffy this week. Thank God the Hollindale's over, and Mother Nature said, well, do your best this week. We've drawn up fields for the turf and the poly. A decision will be made in the next sort of 24 hours or so of what track will be on.
It is obviously the Ronald McDonald House Race Day, a charity close to our hearts here at the Gold Coast Turf Club, an annual event here. So very excited to be supporting them. They'll have a massive event down in the event centre, raising as much money as they can for the charity. So big day here on track.
Your specials?
My specials, obviously we found a tip for both turf and poly, obviously whichever is decided to be raced. For the turf, I've gone race 5 Past Midnight. Looks a good horse coming off a win in the last start.
Is that an omen after
Past
Mia's wedding?
It is an omen. Nothing good happens past midnight, so I like that one.
You're telling the story.
And then my poly tip, I've come off the back of a win with Redford in the Hollindale. So this one is an omen because we're sticking with the red in race 5. We've got Winona Redwood.
Oh.
So that's another little omen there. Hopefully red is my winning theme this
Very
week.
good play on words. Single Red ran second in the Gold Coast bracelet last week. For me, on the turf, Cloudland, he loves a wet track. Race 4, number 1. So those connections will be hoping that they're on the turf. And for the poly, Count Nicholas, he's in really good form. Race 4, number 8 for Adam Campton. And Bella Youngbury, just quick shout out to her. She's been granted her Metropolitan licence. So onwards and upwards for Bella as well. That's the show. We've recapped plenty. And also, we will recap the Mia
wedding.
Watkins wedding.
The Watkins wedding.
Yep.
We don't have time for it in this show. It'll take too long, so we'll save that for next week. Maybe we'll even get a sneak peek of it on the show.
Yeah, we might get her on the show.
Yeah, maybe we'll get her on the show.
Wedding.
Why not?
Yeah. That's it for In the Box Seat. We'll be back next week. Big preview of Magic Millions National Classic Night.